What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a movie that just came out called The Devil Below. Spooky. So every now and then, I like to take a risk and just watch a movie that I think is pretty good. I usually try to judge it based on like the trailer or something like that. And I saw this trailer for The Devil Below, and I thought the trailer was actually pretty good. But it turns out that trailers are not always the greatest way to determine whether a movie's good or not. And that's probably why you're here, huh? So The Devil Below is directed by Bradley Parker, who you may remember from the movie Chernobyl Diaries, which was like a found footage film of them going back into Chernobyl to check it out and making a horror film, which, despite it being kind of obviously flawed, is still kind of an interesting concept and is still kind of an interesting movie, even if it doesn't perform the best. So I was curious to see what he would do in this movie. This movie also stars a seasoned veteran Will Patton, which also kind of hooked me into wanting to see this movie because if you've watched Swamp Thing, he's one of the guys in there, one of the bad guys. But anyway, so what is The Devil Below? Somewhere in the Appalachian country, there is a place nestled deep into the mountainsides where a coal mining facility used to take place and has been hidden for decades because of some sort of fire that's been blazing there. When a team of researchers try to find out how the fire started, they soon discover something more startling than the mystery that sent them there.
They're not alone.
Essentially, we're talking creature feature in a mine, which is not necessarily something new, but I always like the setting of a mine for some reason, even though a lot of the movies that have been represented in places underground are not always the best. One of my favorites, obviously, is The Descent. That was a very low-budget film that did really big things. Does The Devil Below pull this off? No. And I'm sorry to say, I really wanted it to be good. I was really hoping for a creature feature film because it's been a little while since I've seen a good one, and they're few and far between a lot of times. This movie directly reminds me of sort of a network sci-fi TV movie. Not all of them are bad, mind you. Like, I like The Leprechaun and a few others, but this one kind of feels like one of the older ones where they weren't all so good. A lot of the acting in this movie is not great, aside from Will Patton, who I did enjoy, and I think he did the job and the role well. But everybody else is very stereotypical. You got this girl who is not your regular girl, and she's able to take care of herself, and she's surprising all the guys, all the scientist guys anyway, and they find this place in the middle of the hillside, and they go and do their research and everything, and of course something goes bad and creatures start to reveal themselves. Now, first off, for a creature feature, this one does the right thing by not showing you everything right away. But I feel like a lot of this is because they didn't want to show you the creature. The creature in itself isn't bad. If I'm being minor spoilerific, it kind of reminds me of the creature in Monster in the Closet. And there's many of them. Now, I won't say much more than that. I mean, this is a pretty typical story, so me spoiling it is kind of ridiculous anyway. It's kind of a moot point because you've probably already seen this film, unfortunately. And I wanted to like it more and hopefully see some gore and some things in it that might actually make this film kind of like get me through it. As I always say on the podcast, we, as horror fans and people who watch movies, like to have our little snack treats along the way to the end of the movie. If those snack treats aren't there by the end of the movie, we're not happy. We feel unfulfilled. It's like a meal. We need to eat a meal, and those nuggets have to be very important all the way to the end, or it's really not really worth your time. Unfortunately, and as much as I, want to be positive about independent cinema, this film really just does not deliver on much of anything. There is a few minor, very minor gore sequences in it, which could have helped boost the movie up a little bit more. There was a lot of CGI, a lot of TV magic, so to speak. And it's weird because TV nowadays is actually pretty good, and they've gotten really good with the effects and stuff. But picture, if you will, late 90s sort of TV effects. That's kind of what you feel like you get here. Like when a grenade goes off, you see this explosion on the screen that does not look like a grenade. And it's just kind of like a flash on the screen. It just was not well done. I don't want to shit on this movie entirely. You know, other than Will Patton's performance, there really wasn't that much, though, that I liked in this movie. The acting was just subpar. A lot of the performances in it felt very off cadence. Like they just did not feel like they worked together. They weren't congruently working together. The creatures didn't give me what I wanted. When they finally get to a part where there's something to see, they obscure the view with some sort of distorted thing, probably to cover the bad CGI. By the end, I was just ready to turn it off. Really just was not into this movie. It's not all bad. It's definitely something that you would pop on if you were just flipping channels, not necessarily something you would actively go out and seek, or in my case, put in your collection. Now, the movie, technically right now, I looked on Xbox. I kind of search all the digital platforms to see where it's cheapest because I don't want to spend too much money because I rent movies a lot. What I found is on Xbox, it was like $10 to rent. And then it was like $6.99 on Amazon. We ended up renting it on Amazon for the $6.99. I personally think that is a insane price for this movie. I don't think it's worth paying the rental fee at all. This is a movie that you could find on Tubi very easily in the next month or two. Just didn't like the film. It was not for me. And I'm usually pretty forgiving of films, and it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just very disappointing. And I feel a little tricked after the trailer a little bit, you know? There was also like zero tension in the film. Like I didn't feel at any particular point in time like I was worried about anyone dying. It was really like, please, someone die. I'm a little bored. Maybe I sound terrible on this, but there was just so much that just didn't work with it, in my opinion. It just felt like, oh, I just did it. The story is already average as it is because it's been done before. You really got to step it up in other departments in order to make this movie kind of fly. And because they didn't, that goes down further. So average to lower. I would give this movie a 3.5 at the most, maybe a 3. I would never watch this again, unfortunately. It's not something for me. It's not something that I feel anybody who would be looking for minds and monsters and gore or anything like that would want to see. I hope Bradley Parker gets a better chance at doing something else because I own Chernobyl Diaries. I enjoyed Chernobyl Diaries, and I think that it's not a terrible film, even though many will say otherwise. I think there is some good things in there, stuff that I liked, and I think he could do better than this movie, The Devil Below. So hopefully we get to see more from him in the future. This was just a miss for me and probably will be for you. But did you rent it like I did? What did you think of this film? Did you enjoy it? Am I being too critical on the film? We all have different opinions. This is just mine. If you enjoyed this review and you want to tell me what you thought about this movie or what you thought about the trailer even, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this review, please hit the like and subscribe button. But other than that, thank you guys so much for coming by and supporting this channel. It really means a lot to me, so thank you. And long live the void.